Warning. This is a satirical analysis of Nekopara intended for mature audiences and people who can differentiate between reality and fantasy. If you are not one of those people, stop watching now. Enjoy. Hey guys, I'm Axel the Weeb, and this is the third part of my Nekopara series. This episode will build on some of the concepts from part 2, so if you haven't seen it yet, I'd suggest going back and watching it first. So, first off, I have to say that Volume 2 is both my personal favorite, and it's basically the shonen redemption arc of the series. Like, seriously, there are enough fights in Volume 2 to make Dragon Ball Z get jealous. And once again, there are quite a few events in Nekopara that led me to believe that the Nekos are the result of peacetime utilization of a genetic engineering program that was once used to create super soldiers that were used to fight in some kind of final world war. And now the totalitarian government that controls the world is using this genetic engineering technology to create Nekos for the sole purpose of social pacification. The events of Volume 2 take place roughly 1 year after the events of Volume 1. We start off with everyone working at the store, which is currently at max capacity by the way, and something strange occurred to me. Remember back in the last episode when I said Kashao said that Shigure would never be able to come back if the parents ever found out she was here? Why is Shigure here? It just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Shigure says that she started a blog for the store and the locals now know the shop as the Catgirl Patisserie. We get to see that Shigure is managing the store and Kashao says that he really doesn't get the internet. Looks like we're already getting to see the fracture in Kashao's mind. He runs a popular and profitable business but doesn't understand the internet. And true to form, Shigure starts being creepy before telling Kashao that they are getting loads of views just by uploading pictures of their catgirls. And then Shigure says, "Who knew advertising would be this easy? Remember last episode when I said the Nekos are basically walking advertisements? This is what I'm talking about." Next we get to see how Azuki manages the rest of the Nekos before Shigure comments on how everyone's gotten older now. And Kashao says that Azuki has been a problem up until last year. This line suggests that it has been about a year since the events of Volume 1. He then goes on to say that he admired her as a parent would his child. Oh no, here we go again with the whole I don't want to fuck you because you're my pet and my family, but I will eventually wind up fucking you thing. With this conversation between Azuki and Coconut, we the audience get some foreshadowing into the character arcs of Volume 2. Coconut is a klutz with no self-esteem and Azuki is just kind of a bitch. Then the first fight of the Tournament of Power happens. On the sidelines, we have Cinnamon saying that she remembers when Coconut would call Azuki One-chan, and this is the line that foreshadows the actual redemption arc that will happen. As the fight was going on, Shigure was cataloging the events of the day for the blog that she started, leading to the opening cutscene of Nekopara Volume 2. After the cutscene, we get to see Coconut on break upstairs from the shop. She's lamenting to herself about how useless she is. While Kashao is trying to console Coconut, he says that he's sure that there are things that only she can do, and he's right. This causes Coconut to say, "Why'd I have to be such a muscle-brained catgirl?" And I'm all over here like, it's because you're the remnants of a super soldier program, duh. Kashao then asks Coconut if she wants to go out on a delivery with him, and she agrees. While they are out, Kashao says that if they get too many more deliveries that he'll need to buy a car, and Coconut goes, "Yeah, and then there will be even fewer jobs for me. But at least I can outrun a mini truck." And the funny thing is that she's not lying. As Kashao and friends are out on delivery, they run into Milk. As all the Nekos are having a reunion, we find out that Coconut doesn't really know how to react to Milk being all cutesy because she herself is very tomboyish. I find this hard to believe because Coconut lived with Chocola and Vanilla for about 6 months, and Chocola has basically the same personality as Milk. Kashao asks Milk where her master is, and when Milk says that she's out shopping for supplies, it doesn't make any sense that Milk's owner would leave because Milk doesn't have a bell. And if Milk is found by the authorities right now, she would be taken into custody. Then Milk says that she can hear her master's footsteps, causing Kashao to go, "You could hear her footsteps from that far away?" Then Milk says that because she's a catgirl, she can differentiate footsteps from up to a mile away. This is more evidence to suggest that the Nekos are the remnants of a super soldier program. Milk then runs over to her master and almost gets hit by a car only to be saved by Coconut. Okay, so when Kashao said you could hear her footsteps from that far away, let's assume that she was about 35 to 40 yards away. You know, just far enough away that you could recognize someone if you squinted. And Milk literally almost gets hit by a car only to be saved by Coconut in the last second. And there's no evidence to show that Coconut started running in advance to save Milk. That means that Coconut would probably be able to run about 95 feet per second, and that's about 3 times faster than the fastest runners in professional sports. As a reward for saving Milk, the food stand owner gives Kashao and friends some free food before they return to the store, only to have Shigure and Azuki start interrogating them about where they were. Being startled, the Nekos start telling horrible lies before being called out by Azuki for having seaweed in their teeth, proof that they were slacking off. As an apology, Shigure wants a kiss from Kashao, to which he agrees, and this catches Shigure off guard. Kashao gives Shigure a little peck on the cheek, causing Shigure to have a tsunami of blood erupt from her nose. Kashao says that this happens about 2 to 3 times a year, but that it is unusual for there to be this much blood. Cinnamon closes up the store so Kashao can mop up the blood before talking to Azuki. Kashao starts to get Azuki to open up about what's been bothering her, and says, "Cat got your tongue?" Oh god, I just love the cat puns in this, they're so good. Azuki is worried that she really struck a nerve with Coconut in their last fight in the Tournament of Power, but wants to thank Kashao for putting a smile back on her face. Kashao then thanks Azuki for all of her help at the store, and she responds by saying that if you want to thank me, up my pay. This line right here makes me think that Azuki is the only one that is actually being paid in cash. Later on, after the shop is closed, we get to see Chocola getting jealous of the other Nekos, and she asks Kashao if he knows just whose master he is, to which he says Vanilla, and Chocola gets all butthurt. We are then treated to a scene of Chocola and Vanilla in a compromising position for the good old-fashioned H-scene bait-and-switch. Kashao cleans the Nekos' ears until they pass out, and then he goes to take a bath so that the first actual H-scene can happen. The next day, Chocola and Vanilla get some startling news that they will have to retake the Bell exam. Shigure says that the Nekos didn't do very well when they took the Bell exam, and that is just flat out wrong because they passed on their first attempt, showing that they are in the top 5% of the top 10% of Nekos. It would be pretty hard to be in the top 5% and still not do very well at the exam. Shigure then states that the renewal test will take 2 days, which is weird because in Volume 1 it could only be assumed that the exam took place in 1 day. As Chocola and Vanilla are dragged off to take the exam, Azuki says that the shop had too many people normally, which is actually one of the most logical things said in the entire series. Maple says if we were humans, this place would totally be in the red, showing another example of the Nekos probably getting paid in cake. And Cinnamon says that she just loves to work at the shop, so I'm thinking that Cinnamon either gets paid in cake or is just like straight up a volunteer. Later that day, after the shop closes, Coconut asks Kashao for some special training so she can prove Azuki wrong about her being a total klutz. About 30 minutes later, we can see that the training isn't going as well as Coconut would like. This is where Coconut begins her shonen redemption arc as she laments about her uselessness and says that she has to grow up now because she isn't the youngest of the Minaduki Nekos anymore. As the tension in the scene builds, Kashao says that Coconut is family and that he thinks of them as brother and sister. Once Kashao consoles Coconut, they get back to training and we can now see that Coconut finally has the ability to perform basic tasks. Kashao asks Coconut if she would like to stay the night and even says that Chocola and Vanilla's beds are free. Shigure calls to let Kashao know that the training is going to take about a week. Once Coconut is out of the bath, we have another scene of Kashao grooming one of his Nekos. And in this scene, Coconut talks about how she helps out at the shop simply because she wants to. Then Kashao starts thinking to himself about how cute Coconut really is. He then says, "What am I doing? Thinking of Coconut in that way. I'm almost her older brother." The next day, Coconut starts to show off her ability to perform simple tasks without messing up and gets praised by all the other Nekos. In her excitement, Coconut calls Kashao Oni-chan, and that causes Maple to say, "Wait, are you guys into that sister-brother roleplay stuff? That's a little weird." A little while later, Azuki starts expositing to Kashao about her concern for Coconut's tendency to overdo everything. Kashao thanks Azuki for her concern before starting to pet her, and says that she can purr if she wants because no one's around. But oh shit, It turns out that Coconut was watching the whole time, and with this last anime contrivance out of the way, we have a transition panel to the closing of the store. After the store is closed, Kashao wants to thank Azuki for all her hard work by taking her to a really expensive restaurant. In fact, this restaurant is so expensive that it has a dress code. So Kashao rents a suit and Azuki rents a dress, and they go to the restaurant. Once they get there, Kashao asks Azuki if she is enjoying her meal and champagne before saying that he was planning on coming here alone. Wait a second, you were gonna come here alone? Kashao then tells Azuki that she is an important part of the family too, then he says that Azuki is like a little sister to him. Then Azuki says that she is starting to get a little tipsy from the champagne. They both finish their glasses in one gulp before Kashao pours them out even more champagne before leaving the restaurant. So it can only be assumed that when Azuki said that she was getting tipsy, she had not even finished her first drink yet. Then they both finish off their drinks in one gulp before Kashao pours more. It can also be assumed that Kashao and Azuki finished their second glass of champagne also. Now because Azuki is the smallest breed of the Minaduki Nekos, she probably only weighs around 80 pounds. And she was tipsy before the end of her first glass, and it can be assumed that she finished the second glass as well. Remember this bit for something I'm going to bring up later. As Kashao and Azuki arrive back at the store, they are joking to each other about Coconut, because even though you might love someone, it is okay to make fun of them from time to time. Coconut only hears the last half of the conversation between Kashao and Azuki, and this causes her to scream about how everyone puts her down all the time. In a moment of anger, Azuki slaps Coconut to get her to snap back to reality, but this only causes Coconut to run off in sadness. Azuki then goes, "Ah, shit, what am I doing?" before her and Kashao go running off to find Coconut. They find Coconut down by the ocean where the food stand normally is. When Kashao confronts Coconut about what just happened, Coconut says that she knows that she's useless but will continue to train every day so that one day her power level will be high enough for her to win the Tournament of Power. Then there's some more crying, followed by everyone saying that they're sorry, and then Kashao says that it's past 11 so they should all head back to the store for the night. Okay, so let's assume it is now sometime around 11:30 at night right now. The store closes at 8, and let's assume it probably takes them about an hour to actually shut down the store. And then it took them about 30 minutes to get dressed and go to the restaurant. They then probably spend at least 1 hour at the restaurant before coming back home. This would leave them with 1 hour to have the fight and make up. Now, Azuki had 2 alcoholic drinks that were very strong for her level of tolerance in the space of about an hour. So it's no wonder she assaulted Coconut. Bitch is fucking wasted. The next day, Chocolate and Vanilla come back with their bells renewed, only to have them find Azuki and Coconut having a fight to raise their power levels in preparation for the Tournament of Power. A few days later, Kashao asks Azuki to learn how to make cakes, and Coconut overhears this and she wants to learn also. Unfortunately, the training isn't going so well for Coconut, as she made some kind of Cronenberg-style cake only to have Azuki fix her mess. Once the cake is saved, Kashao expresses his genuine surprise at Azuki's ability, and Coconut is overwhelmed with joy and starts to gleefully swing Azuki around the kitchen. So, Coconut can run around 95 feet per second, and she can effortlessly swing around a 80-pound Neko that is actively resisting her. A being with physical abilities like these are exactly what I would expect from a super soldier program. Kashao then starts to teach Azuki the basics of mixing while Coconut watches from the sidelines. Kashao gets behind Azuki to instruct her better, and as the tension in the scene builds, we are treated to another H-scene bait and switch, as Chocolate and Vanilla start to figure out that Azuki and Coconut both like Kashao. And then we have the famous pervy pastry puffer line. Vanilla says that Kashao is a real predator and that he'll go after any catgirl he sets his eyes on. Then, literally the next line is Kashao telling Vanilla to stop saying things like that because people will get the wrong idea. And Chocolate says to Azuki and Coconut, "What, you don't want to fuck Kashao?" And they're both like, "Well, I'm not totally against it," causing Kashao to say that he doesn't even know how to respond to that question. And finally, Vanilla says that catgirls have no problem with polygamy. This statement by Vanilla that the Nekos have no problem with polygamy lends more evidence to my social pacification theory. After the next transition panel, Kashao tells the Nekos to pick out a gift for themselves for passing the bell renewal exam. While the Nekos are on the computer, Shigure tells Kashao that they only passed by a hair and that if the Nekos would have done better, she would have bought them a whole tuna, causing Kashao to think to himself that Shigure must have multiple times the wealth of his store. There is then more evidence for my social pacification theory when Shigure asks Kashao if he's worried about the polyamorous nature of the Nekos, to which he says no, and then Shigure says that there will be jealousy, but that the Nekos don't feel a need to keep their mates to themselves. Later on, Kashao starts to exposit to himself about how Coconut looks, and then goes, "No matter how you look at it, Coconut is just a naive kitten." Chocolate enters the room and gets the reader to think that she can smell Coconut's heat, only for it to be a good old-fashioned H-scene bait-and-switch again. Once the shop is closed, the story finally stops teasing itself and Coconut's H-scene finally happens. I remember on my first time reading Nekopara Volume 2, and when this scene happened, I was thinking to myself, like, wow, really? You're just gonna do it in the kitchen? Because there are times when it is implied that people could see straight into the kitchen from outside the store. The next day starts off with Shigure himidarying all over the place as she gushes to herself about Coconut being the newest companion. Then Cinnamon says that there's a strange mood in the air as Azuki isn't acting like her normal self. The Nekos get ready for work and they open the shop. All throughout the day, Azuki is acting flustered and is biting off more than she can chew. Kashao tries to get Azuki to calm down by showing her how to make custard. And because this is a slice-of-life universe, the laws of physics will change to make the event of spilling the custard on Azuki in some ecchi fashion an inevitability. But it turns out that it was just an ecchi scene bait-and-switch, because Azuki runs upstairs in embarrassment, leaving Kashao and friends to run the shop for the rest of the day. After the shop is closed, Chocolate tells Kashao that she's going to take a bath so that she can be written out of the scene for a while, and then Kashao asks Azuki why she's been acting so weird today. Azuki says that she could see the H scene happening yesterday, and Kashao says that, oh, whoops, I guess the cat's out of the bag. This leads to the last H scene, after which Azuki exposits about being a tsundere for a while. The next morning is the final scene of Volume 2, in which Shigure is once again himidarying all over the place about Azuki now being a companion. And Cinnamon breaks the fourth wall to say that she's recognizing a pattern and thinks that she and Maple will become companions next. Hey guys, I'm Axel the Weeb, and this concludes my analysis on Volume 2. And make sure to put your guys' waifus down in the comments. I want to see what you guys are into. And make sure to join me for Volume 3, Shigure's Final Solution.